So Shamima's baby boy was confirmed dead on Friday. He was 3 weeks old and it's been reported that he died from pneumonia. Kirsty, when you read or when you first heard about that, how did that make you feel?
It's just such a desperately sad story. It's worth remembering this is a British newborn, a tiny baby, not 3 weeks old. It's just another innocent victim of war. Whatever we think about the decisions of the mother, this was a tiny British newborn that we've lost.
OK.
And did we fail the baby?
So we think that the mother should have been allowed to return with the baby to face British justice. So nobody can condone the decisions that she's made, but this baby deserved British compassion and the mother should have faced British justice.
Did you agree with that, Will?
I agree with certainly the baby hopefully being repatriated to the UK, but it's not as simple as one might imagine. It's a highly complex operation to extract someone from a conflict zone, and particularly from such a huge refugee camp as the one that they're actually in. This poor child has been a victim of his mother's irresponsible actions, in my book. She took the choice to go to a conflict zone. She took the choice to have children within a conflict zone. By proxy of that, that presents so many difficulties for the potential chances of that child to survive. Now, I think certainly we would want to try and get any children back where possible, but those who've made the choice to go and join a cult like Islamic State take the responsibility on their own shoulders.
So were you suggesting then that the baby was repatriated without the mother?
I think that's certainly a possibility.
So that's a 3-week-old baby. He's probably still obviously being breastfed and being wrenched from its mother's arms in a refugee camp. And right, OK, well, you have to stay here, but we're going to take the baby.
I think it's an option. I think it's an option that could have perhaps been made available. How logistical and practical that could have been, again, very, very difficult to say. But I think in terms of the child, they are an innocent victim of their mother's actions.
So, Kirsty, because if you go back to the beginning of this story, Shamima was a child when she left, when she was groomed by ISIS to go over there. Do you think that what needs to be done here is look at the bigger picture of this and think about her, that she's a victim somehow?
So I think we should all ask what happens in Britain that a British schoolgirl, and it's worth bearing in mind she was a school pupil, as you say, when she went. How did we collectively get to a situation where a child would want to go and join a cult? And I'd say none of us would condone that decision, but there are 2,500 children in these camps that are the children of foreign nationals. So all governments need to take responsibility for their own citizens and what's happened to them.
A lot of people felt at the time, and yes, it is utterly tragic that this baby has lost its life. One of, I should imagine, a great many in that refugee camp that died at a very young age. But a lot of people watched her interview on the TV and she showed very little remorse. There was a feeling, I think, amongst many people that you didn't have sympathy for her because she didn't appear really to be apologising.
So until she's here and facing British justice, I don't think any of us can really know what's happening in her mind. She's being interviewed in a refugee camp surrounded by former ISIS fighters. It's a very insecure situation in which she's trying to tell us what she feels. I think until she's back on British soil facing British justice, an investigation by one of the finest justice systems in the world, none of us can truly know what she feels.
Well, a lot of people have been saying that they believe that she was using this baby as her ticket to get back into the UK. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. And I think it's a distinct possibility in terms of using the child as a potential leverage point to get back to the United Kingdom. I've seen it before. Kirsty's probably seen it to a certain extent in some of the conflict zones that her organisation operates within. Children can be used by refugees, and in certain circumstances it can be used as a very legitimate and a valid point for them to try and gain asylum or to gain repatriation. But I think in this instance, we have to take this in isolation. We have to look at the contextual part of Shamima Begum, her role that she played within Islamic State. But also we need to look in a broader picture, the Yazidi women, for example, and their children, and how they were suffering at the hands of ISIS. And that wasn't just by the jihadis. This was also allegedly by the jihadi wives and brides as well.
What do you think of that?
So I don't think we can take this case in isolation. So since December, it's been estimated that 89 people have lost their lives, 2/3 of which are children under 5. So there is a systemic problem with little children. These camps are no place for children, but they're certainly no place for newborns.
But also, doesn't this give quite a strong message that no matter how old you are, and now you know the consequences. If you feel you want to start a life with ISIS in another part of the world, you can't come back regardless.
So I just don't think that's the British way. I think British values would say that if you are a child, you deserve our protection. These were British children that are being lost. We've seen more mothers stripped of their citizenship this weekend, and that cannot be right when they could be facing British justice.
Well, I think we have to also take into the contextual part for the UK that the minimum age of criminal responsibility starts at the age of 10. So, as you said, Philip, you know, in terms of them going out to Islamic State, they're fully cognizant of what they're doing, and they're aware of what they're doing, and the repercussions and implications of potentially going out to join a terrorist group. I think in terms of the children, and certainly in terms of babies, I think there could be things to be done. But I've extracted people from conflict zones myself, and I know how expensive, how difficult, how dangerous it potentially is. And the UK does not have consular assistance in Syria right now, and to put members of the Foreign Commonwealth Office down there to assist is going to be very expensive and very risky.
This conversation, people have very, very strong feelings about it. I'm just looking down here at some of your comments this morning. June said she made a choice to leave the UK and marry an ISIS terrorist. She chose to have a child under very bad conditions, so she is responsible for the death of her own child, not the UK. How do you feel when you read something like that?
I just can't see how we can think that children, British children, are anything other than a British responsibility. So these camps are absolutely freezing. They're overwhelmed, the aid workers there, 55,000 people. A camp at breaking point. It can be no place for children and no place for British children that are ultimately our responsibility.
And so, would you say that there was blood on the hands of the Home Secretary?
I think the Home Secretary took the wrong choice in taking the citizenship away. And in fact, we've seen over the past day that the Foreign Secretary has said that he's going to work with the International Development Secretary, Penny Mordaunt, to try and do more. So I think there is movement inside the British government.
So you're suggesting, obviously, you would like us to get in there and get those children out?
So it's not up to a humanitarian organisation like Save the Children to say how the Foreign Office can use its private diplomatic channels.
But that's a bit wishy-washy, though. What do you actually want?
Well, the question that is being asked of the Home Secretary is, British journalists have been able to get into this camp. Aid workers are there. That's the kind of question that the Home Secretary is being asked.
You're an expert in that field.
Yeah. So the comparables of taking journalists into war zones is very different to government personnel. And the same also applies to NGOs. They can afford and assign, both for the hostile environment training that they have beforehand and before they deploy, but also the security on the ground. Now, having been in many conflict zones myself and escorted journalists, contractors and various others, it's a much easier prospect to be able to traverse and move around these environments without ease. And you can't compare that to government representatives who go down there, who in their own position would be good collateral or good targeting by organised crime or terrorism for them to kidnap, to kill or to cause harm to in some shape or form.
OK, thank you both for coming in this morning.